get started here. We'll find out a little more about you in a minute, but the Bluebeam Revu product obviously is something that we will work with having to do with our built environment. Mostly, the Bluebeam Revu product is used primarily by the AEC industry. This is a map of, well, sort of the world, I guess, minus maybe the Arctic and Antarctic. And the company got started in 2002 to provide a product for architects, engineers, and contractors that there weren't any other solutions for. At this point, they have approximately 1.9 million users around the world in 130 countries. And just out of curiosity, because who has anything better to do, right? I looked up the fact that there are 195 countries in the world. So, we're counting on Bluebeam to come through for those last 65 countries, and then the entire world will be connected. For those of you that are on 2017 or earlier, the interface changed to 2018. For those of you on 2018, there were some nice improvements in 2019 that I'll just point out briefly as we're going through the improvements in this particular release. Okay. So those of you, it sounds like almost everyone is using Revu, so I don't have to tell you why you're using Revu, obviously, to increase accuracy, reduce the amount of time it takes to do markups, and minimize risk so that, different people aren't marking up things at different times, or maybe you've got the wrong document, it's out of date, and all of that good stuff. So there are three major sections of improvement in this particular release. There are not a ton of items, which we always hope that there are in every release. So there are a few items, but the ones that they have given us have added a lot of value according to beta testers, and we'll see some of those comments at the end. So the first one has to do with Studio. Studio, obviously, if you are current users, is divided into two sections. You have sessions and you have projects. The problem in the past has been when you are trying to create a new project or a new session, inviting users. If you haven't created a group already, you have to manually type in all of the email addresses. And if people haven't joined a session, for example, there's no way for you to know if they had joined or not. You'll notice on the screen for the attendees section right here that there's now this new tab called Not Joined. When we get to projects, it works a little bit differently. You might be busy. Hopefully you're busy. Maybe you were invited to participate in 7 or 8 or more projects. One client said that they actually participated on 90 projects and they lost track of their invites, whether they had actually joined or not. So the joined, not joined is going to change for projects, as far as I understand it. For the not joined is now the projects you haven't joined, so that you can quickly join a project. You can assign permissions to users prior to them even opening their session login information, and this copy paste email. So I'm going to show you how that works rather than you having to type stuff in. And again, I mentioned that. There are new locations for some settings which are confusing. I'm still working them out. I keep looking in the old place, so I'll try to point those out to you as well. Okay, so let me come in here. Whoops. Let me come in here. There we go. So I'm now in Bluebeam Revu 20, and I'm going to go ahead and log in to Studio. So the login pretty much is exactly the same as it was. The only thing it doesn't remember is your password. So try to come up with one that you can remember on a fairly regular basis. So I'm going to create over here on the top left, I'm going to create I already have one called Bluebeam. I've got one called Revu 20 demo. So I'm going to create a new one just so I can show you that particular process. So I'll click on the plus symbol here. and maybe not. Let's try that again. Click on the plus. There we go. New session. And I can create a new session. I'll call it Demo of Review 20. Of course, you know that you can add files at this point if you want. You can set the permissions. Also down here at the bottom, very important options, which I'm going to turn off temporarily, but restricting attendees by email address. Remember, if you don't do that, if you look up at the project numbers up over here, or rather the session numbers or the project numbers, anyone who gets that number, if you haven't restricted it, can log into your session or your project. So you may want to do that. You can also set an expiration as well. So I'm just going to turn those off. You got used to the fact that after you clicked OK, this little box came up afterwards and said, do you want to invite people to that meeting? So this box now looks entirely different. So we have one here where we can type or paste in email. So I can click here and I could come back over to here, and I just so happen to have created a list of emails. So I'm going to just grab all of those, right click, copy, and I will come back over to here, right click, and paste those. Okay, so really pretty easy to do. I can check and include emails. I can click on this and we can actually see the kinds of domains that people are in. So really everyone is in @microsolresources.com. But if you had other ones, you could do that as well. I could also add a message here. So my message is going to be ignore this email. I'm demoing Review 20. But obviously you would type in something that would actually be relevant, save the message, and go ahead and invite participants, right? Now, another way you could do that, another way to invite participants, if I come over and click here, is you can add from groups, right? And so if I had a group in there already, such as this demo group or some of my other groups, right, I could invite from there. You can create groups inside of your settings. So inside of your settings, you have the ability to create these attendees, right? And we can create groups inside of here if we needed to. Okay, so let me go ahead and cancel this. Okay, so now we have the session and we could obviously upload files to this. At the moment though, you'll notice that I have a tab here that says joined, and I have a tab here that says not joined. So I know at this point that these people have not joined my session yet. So if I'm annoyed, I could send a reminder to them like, hey, you know, you really need to join this session because we're meeting right now. Okay. So that's the new feature there for joining. Again, all of this information, I could have all of these email addresses and all these invitations out to people prior to them even setting up their studio accounts. Okay, we can see who's joined. Oh, so those are your studio session. Let me go ahead and show you a couple of other things that are slightly different. So the settings right here, I believe that used to be the session closeout, right? And for your settings, it used to be underneath the name of the session. And it looks like they swapped those to me. So I think they swapped the finish the session and the session settings. And I think the reason they did that is you may want to get to settings more often than actually finishing a session. So that's a nice nice addition there. Pretty much the rest of it has remained the same. Projects, here are projects that I have joined, and these are projects that I would have been invited to, but I haven't joined yet. So I could see if I'd been, oh, you know, I forgot about that project. I need to join that project. Okay. So other than that, they work pretty much exactly the same as projects had in previous versions. Okay, so I think that handles what is new in Studio. So I'm going to go ahead and hop out of Studio. I'm going to sign out. And we'll move on to, oh, and I was supposed to go to this slide, Studio in Action. So Studio in Action, there it was. Okay, so I'll try to remember it this time. So markups and measure quicker than ever before. I don't know if you're going to be able to be quicker than ever before, but there are some cool new tools in this particular release that I'll show you. Maybe they will make your life a little bit easier. One of them, especially the adding leaders and some custom line types. And of course, I know as soon as I show you these new custom line types, you're going to say, oh, can I pull my line types in from AutoCAD or from Revit? And at this point, I don't think you can do that, but you know, keep your fingers crossed. Maybe there'll be a way to do that in one of these updates coming along. So there are some new leader lines for text boxes and callouts. So before, if you put in a text box and you wanted a callout with a leader, you had to delete the text box and change over to a callout. Or if you put a callout in and said, oh, you know, I really want a text box, again, you had to delete that. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to go back and forth from a callout to a text box, and I'll open up the properties window so you can see that. We now have a new hexagon shape for text callouts, text boxes, and the Cloud Plus. So in the past, you were able to do a rectangle, a circle, or a triangle. You can now do a hexagon. That brings up the question, what happens if I open a markup from Revu 20 in an earlier release? What happens to my hexagon? Well, the answer is nothing if you don't edit it. But if you click on it to edit, you will lose the hexagon because it's not supported as an option in the earlier release. So if you don't want those messed up, maybe you lock them in the 20 release so it doesn't get changed. And there's some custom line styles for being able to use insulation or zigzags or things of that sort. So I'll show you those to you as well. And the find tool. So if you sort of know, you know, I'm looking for a particular command that sort of starts with the word cloud or something else, the find tool is kind of a search tool for you. Markups in action. Okay, let me come over to here. So markup leader lines. Yes, leader lines. So let me pull in. Oh, let me put in a text box and a call out. So I'm going to come over here to my toolbox. I think I've got a text box right here. And is this one dynamic? Yeah, let me do it as a static. That one isn't the one I want. Let's see if I can find one that I want here. Is that the one I want? That's the one I want. Okay, so this is text, right? Okay, so there's my text box. Let's go look at the properties for that. If you look up here at the top, it says that it is a text box. Now, if I decided that I suddenly would like, oh, you know, I really would like a leader on that. Well, in previous releases, you couldn't do that. You'd have to come over here, grab this, put in a call out, you know, we'll call it a call out. Obviously, you had to add some thickness to the line. which I'm failing to do right now. There we go. By the way, you know the little magic Alt-Z to resize your box. That's your little keyboard macro. You can also use the that resize feature right here on the properties bar at the top. Okay, so let me finish that. And if I click on that, that is now a call out. So we have a call out, we have a text box. Well, if I wanted the text box to have a leader on it, previous release, I couldn't. I would have to delete this, right? That's gone. And I'd have to create this. Same thing in reverse, I'd have to delete that. So this release now, I can click on the text box and right click. And lo and behold, we have add leader. Now watch what happens up here on the upper right to the word text box properties when I add a leader. That becomes a call out, just magically. And what will happen is that it will resort down here in your markup list at the bottom of the screen. Likewise, if I take a call out, notice it says call out at the top. If I right click on that and delete the leader, lo and behold, it becomes a text box. It's kind of like one of those magic tricks. You can't quite figure out how it works. I have no idea, but that was something that they obviously spent some time on. The other thing that they've added is the ability now with this to add additional leaders. So I can come over here and add a leader. And again, you can add those one at a time, right? So we now have that as a new feature. So if you've sort of been waiting for something like that, it has become your day. The other thing to point out had to do with the hexagonal shape. So again, if I come back, I'm going to close the properties panel over here. It takes up so much of my screen, and over here on the left. So up here at the top of the screen on the properties bar, I have my shape arrow. And if I click on that, we could have gone to a circle. We could have gone to a triangle. And now in this release, we can now go to a hexagon. So if you've been waiting since 2002 for a hexagon, your ship has finally come in. If you haven't, but you suddenly say, wow, I could really use that hexagon. That's kind of a symbol that I've been trying to use, and I've been trying to draw this stupid hexagon for 10 years now. Well, now you don't have to do that anymore. Okay, custom line types that are now available. So let's say you are trying to do an area. I'm trying to find a kind of rectangular boundary here that might work for me. This might work. Just ignore the fact that someone screwed up the door over here. But I've got an area in here at the moment for carpeting. But let's say I wanted an area or a linear measurement that might be for insulation. So if I came in here and went to my tools and measure, and let's say I do poly length, and I'll hold down my left button and drag. Oh, I guess I'm not going to be able to hold down my left button. I will just go around the room very quickly here. Right, and there's my boundary. It's a little bit hard to see. I'll come in and turn off all of the segment values. So it's 30 feet, 3 1/4 inches. Now I'm going to move this just so it'll be a little bit easier to see what's going on. So I'll take that, move that over here. Oh, and I didn't close it. So it should have closed on me. Let me right click on that, see if I can select that. Right click, and am I able to continue? I'm not sure I can. Okay, so we'll just stick with it as it is. I am going to come up here to the line types, the line styles, and use my drop down. And you'll notice we have all of the old ones in there, right? So we could do dashes and things of that sort. But now we have things such as insulation. So if you wanted something like that to be in your walls, right? So you want the length, but you also maybe wanted to indicate it as insulation, you can do that now. If you come up to its properties, you can adjust the, I believe it's the line width, right? So I can adjust that line width down a bit. And if I really wanted to, visually place that in the walls, I could do that. So we now have these new line styles that are available to us in a drop-down. So we've got a zigzag, we've got, I'm not sure, I don't remember if gas and hot water were in there. I think those might be new as well. There's a double line, there's a dash down the middle. So there's your zigzag, and again, you can adjust the pattern. If there isn't something exactly the way you want, there's a manage button here. And here's your manage line style sets. And so what I was hoping is clicking add and being able to add a set to this, but they are BTX. So it's a BTX or BLX rather. It's a BLX file. So if I go to import, right, I would love it to be something like AutoCAD or a Revit type of a line file, but it has to be a Bluebeam line style. And at the moment, I don't know if there's a way to get any of your custom line styles from other programs converted over. There may be, I'm just not aware of it at this point. But at least you have a bunch of new ones in there that you can use. Okay. Oh, the last item to show you from markups is the find tool. So you can find under help, and you have help and find tool commands and search. So as I start to type something in like CL, I will get all of the CL commands, right? So if I want a cloud, I can simply click cloud and I now get my cloud tool, right? So if you don't know where something is, of course, if you don't know what the tool is called, then you're still basically stuck, right? But if you remember the name of it and you don't quite remember exactly where it's located, you could start typing in. So for instance, if I start typing the letter I for image, right, there I can get to image instantly right there, that I can drop an image in. And otherwise, if you don't remember the keyboard macro I for it, you have to go to the tools dropdown, you have to go to markup, you have to come down to image, and you have to come down to from file. So again, if you're new or you forget where something is because there's a lot of stuff in there, or you don't know the keyboard macro, the new find tool is quite useful. Okay, let me go back to here. The last section to show you at this point is the markup list. There have been some changes in the markup list to show you, and one of them has to do with new and improved filtering. So if this is something you've been waiting for, as many people have, it's a wonderful new feature. It also allows you to create custom filters. There are a lot of Boolean operations in there, greater than, less than, and or lots of possibilities for searching. And there's also a new option if you're outputting your markup list summary to not include replies. So if you've been assigned something, or if there's a comment and you reply to it, your reply goes into the markup list, you can now exclude that. And I double checked that option isn't there in 2019. So again, I'm going to show you, oops, that's not what I wanted. I want to go to my next slide. There we go, markups in action. So let me show you the markup list. I'm going to expand it upward a little bit here. So I have some things in here. For example, I have some carpeting. oops, I didn't want to do that either. I have some carpeting, I have some ceramic tile, I have some other things in here, and maybe I would like to filter. So if I click on the filter list button, right, I can go to the top of each column and click on that, right? And I can choose the different options that are in there. But you'll notice at the bottom of each of these columns is the word custom. So you can create custom filters and then save them. So if I click on the kind of sliders that are the settings, you can see that I have saved 2 custom filters. One is called carpet and tile. So if I click on that, I'm getting simply carpeting and ceramic tile. Another one, I have some ceramic tile that is $12 a square foot and $10 a square foot. I have no idea if that's even close to accurate. But I created a filter that says, just show me the ceramic tile that is $10 a square foot. So how do we go about doing something like that? Well, we start with the filter list. Then we'll go ahead and go back to custom. And we can now start choosing what we want. Oh, well, first of all, I think I have to, let's kill the filter list to start with. Okay. Let me get out of the, uncheck that. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and come down to custom. So for that column, it can be equals to, or doesn't equal, contains, doesn't contain, begins with, right? So there's lots and lots of possibilities in there. So I could say maybe it is equals, and then there's my drop down. So I want something that's, let's say, lavatory. So it equals lavatory. I can add some additional items as well. So I can put in an and or an or condition if I want to, right? I could pick apply at that point, right? And I would have now in my filter list, if I wanted to save that, I could save that as lavatory, right? So now I could see lavatory or not, right? So that, you sort of had something like that in the past. Let's do a more complicated filter. Let's click on this column and let me come over to, what have I got? I've got a unit cost per item. Here we go. So cost per item, let me do subject, and I've got to kill my list again. Let's go back into here, uncheck that. Okay. Let's go over to the subject, and let's see if I can do custom. And I want equals lavatory and equals, let's say, is okay, I'll say equals because I don't have a greater or less than, and I could add in another item there. That's again not what I want exactly. I thought I could do subject and could do cost. Well, I'm having trouble right now, struggling, but trust me, I was able to do it earlier by including carpeting and cost in there. So I was able to search and hold on to both of those. I apologize right now. I'm not demonstrating it as well as I could, but there is the ability to do multiple columns when you're doing the filter. You can do 3 or 4 or 5 columns. So I won't waste any more time trying to show you that, but it is possible because I did do that yesterday. Okay, the last item I wanted to show you was the new option for replying or not including replies. So you have the summary now, And I'll go over to our CSV summary. And again, looks pretty much like it used to, but we now have at the bottom, again, your ability to use some custom options. So under output, you now have the ability to include replies. So that's down here. This is the last item. And if you look in 2019, that was not an option in 2019. There were beta testers that played with this, and we have some comments. Again, there were enormous improvements as far as they were concerned. It was a great addition, being able to cut and paste in these email addresses or assign people to projects or to sessions prior to them having actually created a studio account. For the markup improvements, the ability to add text box leader, a keynote, or to a call out to add additional ones was something that they had wanted for a while. The find tool was making it extremely easy for new users to find things. And again, someone said that was a much needed feature. For the markup list improvements, again, they were very useful for submitting to clients takeoff verifications, and they said this was the best filtering tool ever.